The massive space station hung like a jewel against the backdrop of stars, its crystalline spires reflecting the light of distant suns. Inside one of its many diplomatic chambers, Jack Miller fought the urge to sneeze. The air was too clean, too sterile, filtered to meet the needs of a dozen different alien species. None of them seemed comfortable with Earth's standard atmosphere. "So," the tall, blue-skinned council member said, looking down at Jack through protective goggles, "you humans achieve faster-than-light travel using fusion drives and gravity manipulation." The alien's environmental suit hummed softly as it adjusted to the room's conditions. "That's correct, council member," Jack replied, standing straight despite the station's lighter gravity, making him feel oddly buoyant. He'd been warned about being diplomatic, but nobody had mentioned how hard it would be to take aliens seriously when they were all wearing what looked like fancy hazmat suits. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not the harsh kind, but the gentle, patronizing sort that made Jack's jaw clench. The type of laughter adults used when a child said something adorably naive. "Remarkable," another council member said, this one looking like an elegant praying mantis enclosed in a shimmering force field. "To achieve space travel with such primitive methods, it speaks to your species' determination, if not their efficiency." Jack kept his face neutral, but his eyes caught something interesting. Every few minutes, the aliens adjusted their environmental controls. The mantis-like being had already changed its atmospheric mixture 3 times. The blue-skinned one kept tweaking its pressure settings. "We're quite interested in adding Earth to the Protected Developing Worlds Registry," the mantis being continued. "This would give your species access to proper technological guidance, environmental stabilization support, and, of course, the necessary atmospheric conditioning systems for your comfort." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Conditioning systems? Of course," the blue one said. "Your current environment must be terribly uncomfortable. Our scans show your world experiences extreme temperature variations, dangerous levels of oxygen, and crushing gravitational forces, not to mention the atmospheric pressure. How do you manage?" "Manage?" Jack asked, genuinely confused. "You mean, how do we live on Earth?" "Yes, it must be a daily struggle. Our preliminary surveys suggest your species hasn't even developed basic environmental protection for your cities. Your people live exposed to the raw elements." Jack bit back a smile. He'd done his homework before this meeting. Earth's gravity was nearly double what most council races considered comfortable. Its oxygen levels were, to them, almost toxic. Its atmospheric pressure would crush many of their spacesuits. And the temperature swings. Most council races lived in carefully controlled environments varying by no more than 5 degrees. "We manage just fine," Jack said carefully. "Humans are quite adaptable." "Admirable," the blue one said, adjusting its suit again. "Such resilience in the face of hardship. With proper guidance, your species might even develop suitable environmental systems within a few centuries." The mantis being stepped forward, its force field shimming. "We should proceed with classification. Clearly, Earth is a Class C developing world, requiring standard protectorate status and technological uplift protocols." Jack watched as they entered Earth's data into their systems. He knew what would happen next. The classification had been the real reason he'd been sent here. A sharp alarm blared from their consoles. The council members rushed to check the readings, their protective equipment whirring with their sudden movements. This must be an error," the blue one said, tapping the screen. "These readings suggest, but that's impossible." "What seems to be the problem?" Jack asked innocently. "Your planetary data." The mantis being's translator barely caught its shocked clicks. "The system is trying to classify Earth as a death world." Jack kept his face carefully neutral, but inside, he was grinning. The show was about to begin. "A death world?" he asked. "Could you explain what that means?" The council chamber had gone very, very quiet. The patronizing looks were gone, replaced by something that looked a lot like fear. Sometimes, Jack thought, the best diplomacy was simply letting others discover the truth for themselves. The survey ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Inside, lead researcher Don adjusted his protective suit for the 5th time in an hour. The preliminary readings from this system were making him nervous. Approaching the 3rd planet, the pilot announced through the ship's communication system, "Warning, extreme radiation levels from the central star." How do they survive this? Don's assistant Bill wondered aloud, staring at the readings. Their species names were much longer, but they'd adopted simple human names for this mission. The solar radiation alone should make the planet uninhabitable. The ship's sensors continued gathering data as they approached Earth. Each new reading caused more alarm among the survey team. Atmospheric composition analysis complete, the ship's computer announced. Warning, oxygen levels exceed safe parameters. Nitrogen levels exceed safe parameters. Multiple toxic trace elements detected. Don moved to check another console, his environmental suit whirring with each movement. Begin gravity analysis. The numbers that appeared on the screen made him step back in shock. This can't be right. Run it again. The computer complied. The results were the same. According to this, Bill said, his voice shaking, the humans are walking around in gravity nearly twice what our bodies can handle. They'd need powered armor just so. He stopped as new images appeared on the main screen. The survey ship's camera showed a human city. People were walking around without any protective gear. Children were playing in parks, exposed to the raw atmosphere. Athletes were running on open tracks under the deadly sun. Look at the temperature variations, one of the junior researchers called out. It changes by more than 20 degrees between day and night. And they just adapt to it. The ship descended through the atmosphere, protected by its strongest shields. The entire survey team watched in stunned silence as they observed daily human life. They saw humans swimming in acid-laden oceans, climbing mountains in air too thin for most species to survive, and working in conditions that would require full environmental protection for any other spacefaring race. Send a probe to one of their gyms, Don ordered. He'd heard about these places, but couldn't quite believe they were real. The probe's footage left the entire team speechless. Humans were voluntarily exposing themselves to increased gravity conditions, lifting weights that would crush most aliens, raising their heart rates to levels that should be fatal. They do this for fun, Bill whispered. Not just for fun, Don replied, checking more data. They call it staying healthy. Their bodies actually get weaker if they don't regularly stress them with extreme conditions. The survey ship continued its analysis for several hours. They observed humans eating foods that would be toxic to most species, drinking solutions of dihydrogen monoxide that could rust metal, and sleeping through temperature changes that would require emergency protocols on most worlds. We need to compile this data for the Council, Don said finally. But first, run a planetary classification analysis. The ship's computer processed the request. Warning signals flashed across every screen. Error, the computer announced. Planetary conditions exceed standard classification parameters. Attempting to recalibrate. Warning, Level 8 Death World conditions detected. Initiating emergency protocols. The survey team looked at each other in horror. Most of them had believed Level 8 Death Worlds were theoretical. The conditions required for such a classification should make complex life impossible, let alone intelligent life. How? Bill asked nobody in particular. How did they not just survive here, but build a civilization? Achieve spaceflight? Don stared at the images of humans going about their daily lives, seemingly unconcerned by conditions that his people would consider apocalyptic. We need to update the Council immediately, he said. Everything we assumed about humans, we weren't just wrong. We completely failed to understand what they are. As if to emphasize his point, the camera showed a human child licking frozen water for enjoyment, surviving conditions that would shatter the environmental suits of most species. The assessment was clear. They had drastically underestimated humanity. The Council's main laboratory was in chaos. Chief Scientist Ray stood in front of a massive display showing Earth's evolutionary timeline, his protective suit barely able to handle his rapid movements as he gestured at the data. "Look at this," he shouted to the gathered xenobiologists. "Their planet tried to kill them with ice ages." He pointed to another section. "Then it tried fire, massive volcanic eruptions, then ice again. And each time, these humans just adapted." The room full of alien scientists watched in horrified fascination as Ray brought up more displays. Each one showed a different extinction event that had wiped out most life on Earth. Yet somehow, humans' ancestors had survived them all. "Their own planet has tried to eliminate life at least 5 times, Ray continued, his voice filled with both fear and awe. "And that's not even counting the daily threats." He pulled up new images. Earth's predators. Lions that could tear through metal-grade materials with their teeth. Sharks that had remained unchanged for millions of years because they were already perfect killing machines. Bears that could run, swim, and climb while having strength that would rival powered armor. "These were their neighbors," Ray said quietly. "These were the creatures they had to survive alongside. Not just survive, they had to become the dominant species against competition like this." Another scientist raised a trembling hand. "But surely they developed early protection systems, environmental suits, defensive technologies." Ray laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "They hunted these creatures with pointed sticks. They chased them across open terrain until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They did it all without any protection beyond their own bodies." He brought up a new display, this one showing human biological data. "Look at their adaptations. Their bodies can repair broken bones. They can survive the loss of entire limbs. They can recover from poison, radiation, and trauma that would kill most species instantly." The room grew quieter as Ray continued. "They can regulate their internal temperature across a range that would cook or freeze most species. They can go weeks without food, days without water. They can lose half their blood volume and survive." One of the younger scientists spoke up. But that would mean." "Yes," Ray said grimly. "Earth isn't just a death world. It's a level 8 death world. Only the 3rd one ever discovered, and the only one to produce intelligent life." He brought up the classification criteria. "Level 8 means the planet actively tries to kill its inhabitants. Extreme gravity, deadly atmosphere, massive temperature swings, natural disasters, aggressive predators, poisonous flora and fauna. Earth has it all. And humans don't just survive there. They thrive." The display changed to show human cities in every environment on Earth. They build homes in deserts hot enough to cook most species. They make villages in frozen wastelands. They construct cities in places where the ground occasionally splits open and spews liquid rock. Ray took a moment to adjust his suit's atmosphere mix before continuing. "But here's what terrifies me the most. Most species that evolve in harsh environments become specialized. They adapt to one specific threat and become vulnerable to others. Humans, they became adaptable to everything." He showed final pieces of data, human brain scans. "They developed problem-solving abilities beyond anything we've seen. They can learn, adapt, and overcome almost any challenge. And they did it all because their world never stopped trying to kill them." The room was silent as the implications sank in. Finally, one of the senior scientists spoke. "We thought they were primitive because they hadn't developed environmental suits or atmospheric processors." "Yes," Ray said softly. "We thought they hadn't developed these technologies because they couldn't. The truth is far more frightening." He looked around the room. "They never developed them because they never needed them. We're not dealing with a primitive species." He turned back to the display showing Earth's countless deadly environments. "We're dealing with a species that evolved to conquer a level 8 death world with nothing but their own bodies and minds. And we've been treating them like they're weak." The silence in the room was absolute. Every scientist there understood. Everything they thought they knew about humans had been wrong. The news spread through the galactic community like wildfire. In bars, homes, and meeting halls across 1,000 worlds, aliens gathered around information screens watching footage from Earth. The same scenes that had once drawn mockery now caused stunned silence. Jack Miller walked through the council station's main corridor, noticing how other species now pressed themselves against the walls to let him pass. Just a week ago, they had barely noticed him. Now their environmental suits hummed with increased protection settings whenever he came near. "Ambassador Miller," a voice called out. It was Tom, the blue-skinned council member who had once laughed at Earth's technology. He wasn't laughing anymore. "We need to discuss the trade agreements." Jack followed Tom into a private chamber, hiding his amusement at how the alien's hands shook slightly as he activated the holographic displays. "We've reconsidered our initial offers," Tom said, pulling up the documents. "The Council believes Earth deserves more favorable terms." On the screen, Jack saw the new proposals: access to advanced alien technology, trade rights with all Council species, military cooperation agreements. Everything Earth had asked for originally, and more. "That's quite a change from last week," Jack said calmly, "when you wanted to classify us as a developing world needing protection." Tom's environmental suit whirred as he shifted uncomfortably. "Yes, well, new information has come to light. The Council now understands that humanity's achievements are more impressive than we initially realized." A news broadcast played silently on a nearby screen. It showed human firefighters running into burning buildings without environmental suits. Beside it, footage of human deep-sea divers swimming in pressures that would crush most alien vessels. "Tell me," Jack said, watching the footage, "what changed?" "These are the same humans doing the same things we've always done. But we didn't understand," Tom replied quietly. "We didn't understand what it meant. A species that evolved on a level 8 death world. Do you know what that means to us?" Jack nodded slowly. "I'm beginning to. Your children play in conditions that would kill most of our soldiers. Your athletes train in environments we consider lethal. Your workers—" Tom gestured at the screen showing construction workers on a high-rise building. "They perform tasks our species would need full environmental suits and safety systems to even attempt. And now you're afraid of us," Jack stated simply. "Not afraid," Tom said quickly, then paused. "Well, perhaps a little. But it's more than that. We're reassessing everything we thought we knew about humanity." The chamber's door chimed, and another council member entered, this one from a species that looked like a tall, elegant bird. Jack recognized her as Pat, one of the few who had supported Earth's membership from the beginning. "The military committee has concerns," she announced without preamble. "Some members worry that humans might be too robust to be trusted with advanced technology." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You mean they're afraid of what we might do with it? Can you blame them?" Pat asked. "Your species treats radiation suits as optional safety gear. You build homes on fault lines. You go into space in vessels we consider barely more than pressurized tin cans. And you survive. Every time, you survive. And now," Tom added, "we're realizing that what we saw as primitive technology wasn't primitive at all. It was just built by beings who didn't need all the protections we do." Jack looked at the trade agreements still hovering in the air. "So what happens now?" "Now," Pat said, "we negotiate as equals. No more patronizing, no more protective oversight, but also no more underestimating what humanity is capable of." Outside the chamber, another news broadcast showed humans working in a volcanic research station, studying conditions that would melt through most alien protection systems. The footage was labeled, "Death World Warriors, the true face of humanity." The paradigm shift was complete. Humanity would never be seen as primitive again. The emergency alarms blared through the council station. On the main display, a passenger ship's distress beacon flashed urgently. Pirates had attacked the vessel near Earth's solar system, leaving it crippled and venting atmosphere. Radiation levels in the area are lethal, one of the council members announced, their environmental suit glowing with stress indicators. The nearest rescue fleet is 3 hours away. Those passengers won't survive that long. Jack Miller stood quietly at the back of the emergency chamber, watching the aliens scramble to respond. They were doing everything by their book. Analyzing conditions, calculating survival chances, preparing specialized rescue ships. What about the human vessels? Someone asked. They're closest to the incident. Impossible, another council member replied. Their ships don't have proper radiation shielding or environmental systems. They'd be committing suicide to attempt a rescue in these conditions. Jack stepped forward, pulling out his communication device. Let me make a call. Before anyone could object, he contacted Earth's nearby defense station. The conversation was brief, using simple, direct language that made several alien translators struggle to keep up. Help is on the way, Jack announced, putting away his device. But the conditions, one of the council members began. They were interrupted by new signals appearing on the display. 3 Earth ships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the damaged passenger vessel. They were simple vessels by alien standards, built more for function than comfort. The council chamber erupted in shocked exclamations as they watched the human rescue operation unfold. The Earth ships approached without hesitation, ignoring radiation warnings that made alien sensors scream in protest. They're doing a direct dock, someone shouted. In these conditions, without robotic systems. On the screens, human rescue teams moved through space in what the aliens considered woefully inadequate protective suits. Where other species would have used remote drones, the humans physically entered the damaged ship. How are they surviving in there? Tom asked, watching in disbelief. The radiation levels alone. We're more resistant than you think, Jack replied calmly. And we've learned to work fast. The rescue teams moved with practiced efficiency, helping passengers into their ships. Some aliens were barely conscious from the stress of the conditions, but the humans carried them as easily as children despite the difference in size. Look at their vital signs, Pat said, pointing to the medical readings. The humans' bodies are actually adapting to the radiation exposure. They're treating it like exercise stress. The council watched in stunned silence as the rescue continued. The humans didn't just survive the lethal conditions. They worked in them with a casual competence that terrified and amazed the watching aliens. Pirates detected. The warning system blared. 2 hostile ships had returned, probably expecting to find an abandoned wreck they could salvage. What they found instead were 3 Earth vessels, their weapons already powered up. The pirates had top-of-the-line alien ships with advanced shields and weapons. They lasted less than 2 minutes against the human ships. How? Tom whispered. Their technology is more primitive. No, Pat corrected, understanding dawning in her voice. Their technology is built to be operated by humans. We thought it was primitive because it lacks our safety systems. But it doesn't need them, not with human operators. The rescue operation was completed in less than an hour. The humans had saved every passenger, secured the damaged ship for recovery, and driven off the pirates, all in conditions that most species classified as unsurvivable. As the Earth ships prepared to escort the rescued passengers to safety, Jack finally broke his silence. You know what the interesting part is, he said to the stunned council members. For our rescue teams, this was just a normal day at work. Nothing they did today was exceptional, by human standards. The aliens looked at their own environmental suits, then at the screen showing humans operating without concern in lethal space conditions. They were finally beginning to understand. What they considered impossible, humans considered routine. The crisis was over, but its impact would be felt for years to come. The council's great assembly hall was packed. Representatives from 1,000 worlds had gathered to discuss one topic: humanity. The recent rescue mission had forced them to completely rethink their understanding of Earth's people. On the main platform, Ray, the chief scientist, stood beside Jack Miller. Behind them, A massive screen showed scenes from human history. "We made a fundamental error in our initial assessment," Ray explained to the gathered aliens. "We thought humans were struggling to survive on their world. The truth is, they were thriving." The screen showed ancient human hunters pursuing large animals across open plains. Look at their endurance hunting technique. Most species would use technology to catch prey. Humans, they simply chased it until it collapsed from exhaustion. Murmurs spread through the crowd as Ray continued. "We thought they were primitive because they didn't develop environmental protection early in their history. But they didn't need it. Their bodies were already better than any protection we could design." Jack stepped forward, holding up a simple metal tool. "This is a human wrench. Your species would need powered assistance to use it in Earth's gravity. Our mechanics use these every day with their bare hands." The display changed to show human military history. "We thought their wars were primitive," Ray said. "But consider this. They fought in conditions that would kill most species instantly. Desert warfare in heat that would cook most beings. Winter combat in cold that would freeze our environmental suits solid." Tom stood up from his council seat. "But surely their lack of natural weapons. No claws, no armor." "Another thing we got wrong," Ray interrupted. "Humans don't have specialized natural weapons because they can turn anything into a weapon. Their bodies aren't specialized because they're adapted to do everything." The screen showed humans in different environments: deep sea diving, mountain climbing, Arctic exploration, desert crossing. "Most species evolved to survive in one environment," Ray explained. "Humans? They can survive anywhere. Not just survive, they can make those environments their home." Pat, the bird-like council member, spoke next. "Tell them about their healing abilities." Ray nodded, bringing up medical data. "Humans can heal from injuries that would kill most species. Broken bones. They grow back stronger. Deep cuts. Their bodies repair them. Poison. Their livers can filter toxins that would dissolve our internal organs." The assembly hall was silent now, every alien representative watching intently as Ray continued. "But their most remarkable adaptation isn't physical. It's mental. Humans have an extraordinary ability to learn, adapt, and overcome challenges. They don't just survive problems. They solve them. Permanently." Jack stepped forward again. "You all thought Earth was a harsh world that kept humans down. But you were wrong. Earth's challenges didn't limit us. They made us stronger. Every problem we solved made us better at solving the next one." The screen showed modern human achievements: cities in every climate, ships exploring the deepest oceans, stations in the harshest deserts. "We're not asking for your protection anymore," Jack said calmly. "We're offering to help protect you. Because the abilities that let us survive Earth, they make us uniquely qualified to help other species face their own challenges." Ray brought up the final display, footage from the recent rescue mission. "Look at how they operated in conditions we consider lethal. Not with better technology, but with better operators. Humans don't need perfect conditions to work. They adapt to imperfect ones." The council chamber was completely silent. The representatives were finally beginning to truly understand what humanity represented. "So," Jack concluded, "the question isn't whether humans are ready to join galactic society. The question is, are you ready to accept that we're not what you thought we were? We're not struggling primitives who need protection. We're survivors of one of the hardest worlds in the galaxy, and we're ready to help you face challenges you thought were impossible." The silence that followed was different from before. It wasn't the silence of shock or fear. It was the silence of understanding and respect. 6 months after the rescue incident, Earth had become the busiest planet in the galaxy. Alien ships filled the orbit, but not for the reasons anyone had expected a year ago. They weren't there to protect or guide humanity. They were there to learn from them. The Montana Training Center was packed with alien visitors watching human instructors teach survival skills. Jack Miller stood beside Tom and Pat on an observation platform, watching the sessions below. "Your instructor isn't wearing an environmental suit," Tom said, his own suit whirring as it adjusted to Earth's atmosphere. In these temperatures, below them, a human trainer named Mike was teaching alien emergency responders how to handle extreme conditions. The training room simulated various harsh environments, from burning heat to freezing cold. Mike specializes in teaching adaptation techniques, Jack explained. He used to be a wilderness survival instructor before we joined the galactic community. They watched as Mike demonstrated how to operate equipment in high-gravity conditions without powered assistance. The alien students, even in their environmental suits, struggled to copy his movements. "Amazing," Pat whispered. "He's not just surviving these conditions, he's comfortable in them." The next training area showed human and alien medical teams working together. Human doctors were teaching their alien counterparts about rapid response in hostile environments. More importantly, they were showing them how to help patients survive conditions that were once considered unsurvivable. "Yesterday," Jack said, "this human medical team saved a group of miners trapped in an atmosphere that would have killed most rescue workers. They didn't need special equipment. They just needed to be human." They moved to another observation point. Below them, human engineers were teaching alien technicians how to repair ships without waiting for perfect conditions. The humans' natural resistance to radiation and pressure changes meant they could work in situations where most species would need complex robotic systems. "We've had to redesign half our emergency protocols," Tom admitted. "Everything we thought was impossible. Humans just needed the right training and basic equipment." A group of human children ran past their observation platform, playing some kind of game. The alien visitors pressed against the walls, still not quite used to seeing young humans moving so freely in what they considered lethal conditions. "That's what finally convinced the council," Pat said, watching the children. "Not your technology or your military capability. It was seeing your children play in conditions that would kill our strongest adults." Jack nodded. "Earth didn't just make us strong. It made us adaptable. And now we can help others adapt too." They walked to the center's main command room. The walls were covered with screens showing joint human-alien operations across the galaxy, rescue missions in radiation zones, exploration teams in high-pressure environments, research stations in extreme conditions. 6 new colonies established on worlds we thought were uninhabitable, Tom reported, checking the latest data, all because human teams showed us how to survive there. "And the pirates?" Pat asked. Jack smiled. "Piracy is down 80% in sectors with human patrol ships. Turns out they're less eager to attack when they know the response team doesn't need environmental protection to board their vessels." A new alert flashed on the screens, another emergency call from a distant sector. Without hesitation, human and alien teams moved into action together. The aliens provided the advanced technology and vast knowledge of space. The humans provided the ability to use that technology in conditions that would kill most species. "This is what we were meant to be," Jack said, watching the teams work. "Not conquerors, not primitives needing protection. Partners. We can go places and do things other species can't. And now we can help them learn to do the same." Tom adjusted his suit one last time. "You know what the funniest part is? We were so worried about protecting humans from the galaxy. We never imagined that humans would end up protecting everyone else." Outside the command center window, Earth spun peacefully. The same harsh conditions that had once made aliens pity humanity had created exactly what the galaxy needed, a species tough enough to help others survive anything. The age of partnership had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.